This is Fast Food Face Off, and we're doing Valentine's Day cheesecakes from the Cheesecake Factory. Let's crush some calories.
Fast food, face off! Fast food, face off! Fast food, face off!
Welcome back, fast food fanatics, to another episode of Fast Food Face Off. With Valentine's Day rapidly approaching, we thought what better way to bring in V-Day than with some holiday-inspired cheesecakes from the Cheesecake Factory. We have 4 of them here: red velvet, berry Ghirardelli, strawberry, and then Godiva. Before I get into it, show us some Valentine's Day love by hitting that subscribe button. If you like the content, smash that like button, and also let us know down in the comment sections what you thought. Now let's crush some calories. First up, we have a classic, their strawberry cheesecake. Let's see how it tastes. Let you guys get a closer look. First bite. Welcome back, fast food fanatics. I hope this video puts you in the Valentine's Day mood. So obviously, it's a classic for a reason. The way that fresh fruit, particularly stuff like strawberries, cherries, just the berry family in general, interacts with like the natural tang. You usually get like a little bit of the blend of citrus and better cheesecakes or zest that they put in there. Also, there's a little bit of like a syrup on here, almost like you would find in like a strawberry pie, which just kind of punches up a little bit more of that sweet factor. And it's just such a nice pairing, right? There's not much more that needs to be said about it. Over 1 billion Valentine's Day cards are exchanged each year, with teachers receiving the most, followed by kids, mothers, wives, and finally, girlfriends. The Cheesecake Factory chose to go with whole strawberries on this as opposed to like quartered or half strawberries. I know that doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it's one of those things that I think aesthetically they made that choice because it does look visually appealing. But I would say as far as it may be complementing the bite of the average person kind of not wanting to just, stuff a big bite of this in their mouth, I think it would have been nice if they would have maybe done like an array of like quarter slices or even half pieces just to make it a little bit easier for the average person to eat. Not a huge deal for me because I usually just kind of, stuff my face anyway, but just something to know. Next up, we have the very cherry Ghirardelli cheesecake. Try saying that 5 times fast. So what it is a cherry cheesecake with a fudge base layer and then cherries throughout and then chocolate on top. Sounds like a pretty complete bite. Again, the way that cherries, berries, those things kind of complement cheesecake itself, and then only even that much more complemented by the balance of chocolate. Let's see how this one stacks up. Let you guys get a closer look. So this is very tasty. It's reminiscent of a cherry cordial. Not sure whether or not you guys are familiar with that, like the Queen Anne ones that they have in the box. It's almost spot on that. So it's kind of like a thin chocolate shell on top that has a little bit of like a crack to it. Quarter pieces of cherry in the actual cherry cheesecake, which is nice. It's nice to kind of have a fresh bite of the actual fruit to complement the cherry cheesecake. And then you kind of get that rich fudge kind of layer cake on the bottom. And then there's also chocolate chips like studded throughout on top, which just kind of add a little bit more of that texture factor. If you're not a fan of the way that cherry and chocolate blend together, some people feel like it has kind of like a medicinal vibe, and I can understand that. Your mileage is definitely going to vary on this. But if you're a fan of those chocolate covered cherries, then this is going to be right up your alley. In the United States, 64% of men do not make plans in advance for a romantic Valentine's Day with their sweethearts, which probably explains why we spend twice as much. I don't know whether or not you guys can see, but there's actually some white chocolate pieces with the dark chocolate pieces. And it's just really nice that the Cheesecake Factory thought enough aesthetically and flavor-wise to be able to put like maybe some white chocolate in there to bring back some of that overall sweetness, to not make this so rich that it was unappealing. Next up, red velvet cheesecake. I don't know what it is about the idea of red velvet, but it's just become synonymous with the idea of like Valentine's Day. It's just something that's like an iconic flavor, other than like chocolate covered strawberries probably being another one. where people just love the idea of red velvet. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of it. You get too many companies that capitalize on the idea of essentially just red colored chocolate cake as opposed to making a real traditional red velvet cake, which is a little bit more involved than just dyeing a chocolate cake red. Enough of that, let's see how it tastes. Let you guys get a closer look. The overall layer of cream cheese frosting in there is gigantic. It's equal parts, if not maybe even thicker, I would say, of the cheesecake and the cream cheese, as opposed to kind of like a smaller base layer of the actual cake itself. I want to see if I can get just a little bit of a bite of the cake itself. So the cake itself is very good. I do think that it is a bit more than just a chocolate cake dyed red. You can usually taste like a slight tang or even like a bit of acidity in a proper red velvet cake because they use buttermilk more often than not. It sometimes would get lost in something like this because of how thick the layers of the cream cheese and the cheesecake are, but it's a pretty nice balance. I would say if you're a fan of red velvet or cheesecake or any combination of those, this is definitely going to be up your alley. If you're one of those people that's not a huge fan of the way chocolate pairs with something that's like cream cheese, then you could probably skip over this one. Nobody gets left out of the Valentine's Day spirit, pets included, with an estimated 9 million people buying their pets a gift on Valentine's Day. So I'm eating all of this decadent food. It's supposed to be for Valentine's Day, right? And it got me thinking, what is it that you guys think is a really kind of decadent dessert that you would have on date night with your significant other? I know for me and Mrs. Fast Food Face Off, we're very different on what it is that we kind of enjoy as far as desserts go. She's more of a savory person, but I know for her, anything with sprinkles or birthday cake flavored is right up her alley. I'm more of a chocolate guy myself, so anything that has chocolate and a lot of it usually speaks to me. But let me know down in the comments section what it is you guys eat. I don't know whether or not you guys can see it, but they actually put shaved white chocolate or the white chocolate chips. White chocolate is usually a lot more sweet than milk or dark chocolate, so it kind of helps balance out some of the tang from that cheesecake and kind of bring back a little bit of the chocolate flavor in the cake itself. And then also it just really adds a nice texture. So again, kudos to Cheesecake Factory for thinking to be able to add that. Worldwide, over 50 million roses are given for Valentine's Day each year, with the US alone expected to spend over $3.3 billion on flowers for their loved ones. Last up, we have the Godiva chocolate cheesecake. Something interesting to note about this is that the cake portion of this is actually flourless cake. So, for all of my gluten-sensitive friends out there who are watching the show, this is on their allergen-friendly list. Eat at your discretion, but it is something important to note about the cheesecake. Enough of that. Let's see how it tastes. That's a really good cheesecake. I know I have a smile on my face because I can feel it. Something about chocolate and cheesecake, it just does it for me. I'm a chocolate cheesecake person. When I was younger, I used to not particularly like it. I don't know why, I was just a picky eating weirdo. But this is delicious. Like the richness of the chocolate doesn't taste like just a generic milk or dark or semi-sweet chocolate. There's a certain just really, really pleasant kind of melt in your mouth taste being a more higher end chocolate. The cheesecake layer itself is really, really velvety smooth, and there's really not any bad thing that I can say about this. Something else to note, which is kind of nice for those that might try it on Valentine's Day, they actually let you get a little square of Godiva chocolate with the cheesecake itself. I'm not gonna eat this. I'm gonna give this to Mrs. Fast Food Face Off because she has just been sitting watching me eat cheesecake, so I'm sure she'll appreciate it. There you go. Okay. Back to the cheesecake. If you can believe it, more than 35 million heart-shaped boxes of chocolate will be sold for Valentine's Day this year. The majority of them probably being eaten by me. With this, you just get, layers and different varieties of textures of chocolate. So this is a chocolate lover's cheesecake, which is probably the reason why I like it so much. You get kind of just a darker chocolate, almost like a ganache on top, and then right below that you have almost like what feels like kind of a whipped cheesecake because it's not too dense. There's a little bit of air in there, and then they add back some of that density by having almost like a fudge kind of flourless torte, you know, a chocolate cake layer base. And anybody who's ever had flourless chocolate cake, there is just a certain kind of dense richness to it that appeals to certain desserts, and it just pairs perfectly with this cheesecake. This brings our Valentine's Day journey to a close. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did, and I'll catch you on the next one. It's everybody's favorite time, final review time, right? So this one is pretty straightforward. I mean, you guys can probably see through my reaction what I thought was my favorite. And to me, that last Godiva cheesecake just kind of, you know, it ticked all the boxes for me. There was a good amount of flavor. It had chocolate in it. The textures were nice. They thought well enough to be able to kind of make subtle variances between the base layer and then the cheesecake and then the topping. There wasn't much wrong that I could think of with that cheesecake. It was a nice, well-balanced, well-thought-out bite. The other cheesecakes, I would say that there's going to be a lot of your mileage may vary there, other than the standard strawberry cheesecake, which for most people, if you're going to Cheesecake Factory on Valentine's Day, that's pretty much what you're going to probably get, right? You're going to get just a fruit-based cheesecake or just their plain cheesecake and split a slice. That being said, I think that the red velvet cheesecake, I think that the layer ratios are just all wrong there. I'm somebody who's a decadent, you know, dessert fan. There's just way too much cream cheese in that cheesecake. It's supposed to be red velvet cheesecake. So the first thing there is red velvet. There should be thicker layers of that red velvet cake. And then I would think adding something like maybe a layer of white chocolate ganache either on top or in the middle in like the way that they do the chocolate shells would have cut through some of that richness as well. It was just way too much cream cheese. With the very cherry Ghirardelli cheesecake, I really enjoyed it because I enjoy chocolate covered cherries. But for most people, I don't know what it is about cherries and chocolate or berries and chocolate, but it just kind of has this medicinal flavor to them. So if you're not a fan of those chocolate covered kind of cordial cherries, I would say you could probably steer clear of that. My two, if I were going out with Mrs. Fast Food Face Off, would probably be the strawberry cheesecake, and then my personal favorite, the Godiva chocolate cheesecake. As always, we're gonna have the calories and then the price for you guys. Anyone who's been a fan of the show for a long time knows with Cheesecake Factory, the slices are very nominally different in price. And then calorically, obviously the strawberry cheesecake, because it's a little bit more simpler, is gonna be on the lower end, while the other slices, because they're a little bit more decadent, are gonna be on the higher end. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you're a fan of the YouTube, please go and head over to our Instagram. I know I tell you guys this every time, but there's exclusive content that we do on Instagram for our followers that you wouldn't be getting on this channel. For giveaways, we do special content as far as live videos. We do interaction and polls with the followers on Instagram that I just don't get the same interaction with on YouTube, and I would love to stay interacting with you guys that way outside of just the comment section. That about wraps it up for us here at Fast Food Face Off. Remember, if you are what you eat, always eat amazing.